In 2010, bank accounts all across America started draining in perfect silence. There were no alarms, no shattered glass, no masked robbers. One minute, a company's payroll account was full. The next, it was empty. A small town's municipal fund vanished. An individual's life savings gone. It was a heist happening on a scale that was simply impossible. No physical crew could hit this many targets, this fast, this quietly. And the total? Over $70 million, siphoned away into the digital ether. The culprit wasn't a person you could put in a lineup. It was a ghost. A piece of malicious code that lived inside your computer, watched your every move, and waited for the perfect moment to strike. They called it Zeus. And this story isn't just about the biggest digital bank robbery of its time. It's about how this one ghost redefined crime for the 21st century. The operation was so slick, so brazen, that the U.S. Attorney for New York at the time, Preet Bharara, said it perfectly. He called it a high-tech bank heist that required no guns, no getaway cars, and no masks. All it needed was the internet and a terrifying amount of ingenuity. The masterminds weren't kicking down doors in America. They were an Eastern European crime ring, thousands of miles away, orchestrating the whole thing from behind their keyboards. Their weapon of choice was an email. That's it. It would land in the inbox of an employee at a small business, a local government office, or even just a regular person. The email would look completely legitimate. Maybe a shipping confirmation, an invoice, a message from what looked like a government agency. It would have a link or an attachment. The victim, thinking nothing of it, would click. And then nothing would happen. Their computer wouldn't freeze. No pop-ups would appear. No alarms would go off. And that silence, that absolute normality, was the most terrifying part. Because in that single click, the ghost was in. Zeus was now living inside their machine, and the heist had already begun. But how could a simple piece of software steal $70 million? Well, Zeus wasn't simple. It was a predator. To understand the genius of Zeus, you have to stop thinking about it like a typical virus. This wasn't about crashing your computer. This was about surveillance. Once inside a system, Zeus became a digital spy cam, pointed directly at your screen, your keyboard, and your private data. It had a few key methods, and each one was more insidious than the last. The first was old school but brutally effective. Keystroke logging. Every single time you typed, Zeus was recording. Your username for your bank? Locked. Your password? Locked. The answer to your secret security question? Locked. It was like having a criminal looking over your shoulder 24/7, writing down every password you entered, just waiting. But what if you were smart? What if you used your browser's autofill or a password manager to avoid typing your credentials? Well, the creators of Zeus thought of that. This brings us to its second, more advanced technique, form grabbing. When you fill out a login form online, that data is usually encrypted before it's sent to the bank server. Form grabbing is a way to steal that information before it gets encrypted. Zeus would literally scrape the data directly from the web form in your browser at the exact moment you hit submit. It didn't matter how strong the bank's encryption was, because Zeus was already inside the house. And this is where it gets truly diabolical. The third method was called a man-in-the-browser attack. This is the stuff of nightmares. Zeus could actively manipulate the websites you were visiting in real time without you having any idea. Imagine this. You log into your bank account. Everything looks normal. You decide to transfer $100 to your friend. You enter their account number, you enter the amount, 100, and you click confirm. On your screen, you see a confirmation. You have successfully sent $100. But that's not what happened. In the milliseconds between you clicking confirm and the data being sent, Zeus, the man in the browser, intercepted it. It secretly changed the destination account number to one controlled by the criminals. It might have even changed the amount from $100 to $9,500, the maximum daily transfer limit. Your bank's website still showed you the transaction you thought you made, but in reality, your money was already gone, sent to an account on the other side of the world, and you were none the wiser. Zeus was a master of disguise. It was designed to evade detection by even the best antivirus software of the day. It was a ghost, hiding in the deepest corners of the Windows operating system. And it wasn't just targeting small businesses. In its early days, Zeus had already compromised over 74,000 FTP accounts, including some belonging to the Bank of America, NASA, and the U.S. Department of Transportation. The message was clear. If the government and the biggest banks weren't safe, nobody was. So the hackers had the logins. They had the ability to move money. They had tens of millions of dollars sitting in compromised accounts. But this created a brand new, massive problem. How do you get that money out? How do you turn digital ones and zeros in a bank in Ohio into cold, hard cash in Ukraine without setting off 1,000 red flags? You can't just wire $70 million to your personal account. The FBI would be at your door before the money even cleared. The Zeus ring needed a way to launder the money, to make it disappear. And their solution was a vast, international network of human beings they called money mules. Here's how it worked. The syndicate would post fake job ads online. They targeted foreign students studying in the US or people overseas looking for easy work-from-home jobs. The position was usually something vague, like financial manager or payment processor. The job was simple. You receive money into your personal bank account, you withdraw it as cash, and then you wire it to a handler in Eastern Europe. For your trouble, you get to keep a small commission, maybe 5 or 10%. To these recruits, it seemed like a dream job, easy money. But they were being turned into unwitting criminals. The money flooding into their accounts wasn't from a legitimate business. It was the stolen funds from Zeus victims, sent in smaller chunks of a few $1,000s at a time to avoid automatic detection. A mule in Chicago might get a transfer of $8,000 from a compromised construction company in Florida. Their handler, a member of the crime ring, would contact them through an encrypted chat. Go to the bank. Withdraw the cash. Go to this specific money transfer service and wire it to this name in Kyiv. The mule, thinking they're just doing their job, follows the instructions. The cash is withdrawn, wired, and once it arrives in Eastern Europe, it's virtually untraceable. This network was the physical engine that powered the digital heist. It was a sprawling, decentralized web of people, many of whom had no idea they were participating in one of the largest cyber thefts in history. They were just the final, crucial link in a chain that started with a single, innocent click on a phishing email. And for many of them, the consequences would be devastating. While the masterminds were protected by distance and anonymity, the mules were the ones on the ground, using their real names and their real bank accounts. They were the ones who would end up facing the FBI, and the FBI was coming. While the Zeus ring felt untouchable, US and international law enforcement was slowly and meticulously piecing the puzzle together. They weren't just tracking the malware, they were tracking the money. Every wire transfer, every withdrawal, every mule account was a breadcrumb leading them closer to the heart of the operation. In the fall of 2010, they decided to strike. In a sweeping, coordinated action codenamed Operation Trident Breach, the FBI and its international partners dismantled the network. It was a crackdown of incredible scale. In the US alone, more than 90 people were arrested. Across the pond in the UK and Ukraine, more arrests were made, bringing the total to over 100. The people arrested weren't the shadowy hackers in Eastern Europe, not mostly. They were the mules, the students, the low-level recruits who had been duped into laundering the stolen money. At the same time, authorities in Ukraine detained 5 individuals suspected of being involved in creating and distributing the virus itself. For a moment, it seemed like the reign of Zeus was over. The $70 million heist had been solved, but the celebration was short-lived. Because the investigators were about to discover something far more frightening. They had cut off the limbs of the beast, but the head was still out there. And worse, the beast was about to reproduce. The crackdown was a major victory, but it didn't kill Zeus. It couldn't, because the architects of the malware had an ace up their sleeve. Shortly after the 2010 arrests, a rumor began circulating in the dark corners of the internet. The alleged mastermind behind Zeus, a hacker known as Hamza Bendelaj, was supposedly retiring, and as a parting gift, he had leaked the entire source code for the Zeus Trojan online, for free. Whether he truly retired is heavily debated. Bendelaj was eventually arrested and charged for other cybercrimes, but the damage was done. Leaking the source code was the digital equivalent of publishing the blueprints for an atomic bomb. Suddenly, every low-level cybercriminal, every script kiddie, every organized crime syndicate in the world had the keys to the kingdom. They could take the Zeus code, modify it, improve it, and launch their own attacks. And they did. The ghost of Zeus multiplied into an army of phantoms. New variants emerged, each more dangerous than the last. The most notorious of these was a monster called Game Over Zeus. This wasn't just an upgrade. It was a complete evolution. It used a peer-to-peer structure, meaning the infected computers communicated with each other directly, making it incredibly difficult for law enforcement to shut down by seizing a central server. And Game Over Zeus came with a terrifying new partner, a ransomware known as Cryptolocker. Now, the malware didn't just steal your banking info. It would silently encrypt every file on your computer, your photos, your documents, your work, everything, and then display a ransom note. Pay hundreds or thousands of dollars in Bitcoin or lose your files forever. This two-pronged attack was devastating. Game Over Zeus was estimated to have infected over 250,000 computers, causing over $100 million in losses. The legacy of Zeus is not that it stole $70 million. The legacy of Zeus is the world it created. The source code leak democratized high-level cybercrime. The techniques it pioneered, the man-in-the-browser attacks, the stealth, the professional organization, are now standard features in the malware that plagues us today. Its descendants have evolved to target our phones, intercepting two-factor authentication codes sent via text message. The 2010 heist was a wake-up call. It proved that the biggest threat to our financial security wasn't a man with a gun, but a few kilobytes of malicious code. It forced banks to fundamentally rethink their security, leading to the chip and pin technology and multi-factor authentication systems we use today. But for every defense we build, the ghosts of Zeus adapt. The story of Zeus is a stark reminder that in our digital world, the bank vaults are no longer made of steel. They are made of code. And the robbers are no longer after bags of cash, but the keys to our digital lives. The battle that the FBI fought in 2010 is still being fought today, on every computer, on every phone, with every click. The ghost is still in the machine. Thank you for watching. The world of cybercrime is a deep and fascinating rabbit hole. If you want to explore more stories like this one, make sure to subscribe and ring that bell. And let me know in the comments what other digital crime or legendary piece of malware should we investigate next. Stay safe out there.